Can you explain why you wanted to start this project? And it's not just you as well. There's other people involved behind it as well. And why Canary Wharf as well?
Okay. So why did we start the project, and why Canary Wharf? I think probably it's the answer to the second question, which is also the answer to the first question. So this area is really, really interesting. The dock we're in at the moment is one of the original cargo docks for London. And kind of the whole reason that London is here is its position on the river. So for centuries, it was the furthest crossing point down the Thames that you could do. And that's why London's quite unique for river cities, and that it sprawls across both sides of this very big river. And the Thames was then this entry point to the UK for kind of everything. And as London grew, the port of London grew. Yeah, in the early 1800s, this dock complex was built. Mm-hmm. Since then, it's been this fascinating entry point for so many different things. And so many of the communities still living and working in East London and London more broadly have these really deep historic connections to the docks. Yeah, you've got a white working class community who have very strong working ties to the history of industry here. Mm-hmm. There's a significant history of migration that's been related to the docks as well. So you've got all these people with these different links, but the docks today are very different. They're no longer there's no longer really any commercial or cargo operations, and we thought that there's something interesting there. You've got this infrastructure, you've got this body of water that all of these people have a connection to, and we thought that's a really real opportunity to open that up as a new public space, bring these people back to these space, like record and reflect these histories and these connections, and also reflect the changing nature of the docks. And so what we're doing is we're bringing an old cargo ship back. So one of the ships that used to be here in the docks when the docks were trading, and we're then opening that up with an arts program that reflects and celebrates part of the history and part of the communities here.
The first time I spoke to you I understood that it was really expensive to get a theatre building.
Yes.
So was it an alternative to get a ship? Or you've always wanted to... You seem to be very liking ship and in love with ships, because we've spent the last 12 hours on ships.
Yeah.
And you've got some really nice projects going on in your life around ships. So was it more you're going to turn a ship into a theatre, or it's like, we want to the theatre and a ship is more cost effective?
Right. So I mean, there is my personal prejudice here. I love boats. I've been living and working on boats for over 10 years now, and it's very difficult to find me on dry land. But that's not really the why, and the cost as well. It's not actually significantly cheaper. I mean, the maintenance overheads on ships are enormous. Mm-hmm. The reason for it being on a ship is it's the reason it's in this area. It's that what we want to be doing with our arts program is connecting to these different people, mm-hmm. And celebrating this part of London, and having the venue itself be a part of that, be a reflection and a celebration of these people in this area is a real opportunity, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So when did you start it?
Okay.
When did you start looking at it and created the organisation? Yeah. Are you the founder, by the way? I didn't know. I presume. Yes.
Yeah. So
because there's other members of the team.
Yeah, exactly. The team's quite large, and a project like this doesn't happen without lots of people coming together.
Obviously.
And I would I'd say that I think the more than the ships, more than anything else, is the team, which is our most significant asset as an organisation.
Yeah.
So we're so lucky with the people who've come together and supported this project, all working together to make something happen, and something that's quite like we're trying to set up a new art space on the water, and that's not really something that's been done before.
Is it the first time in the world or in the UK? Do you know?
It's certainly going to be the largest floating arts centre in the world. There are things that happen on boats. Anything that happens on land happens in a smaller and damper way somewhere on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly there hasn't been a project of this scope and this scale before.
Yeah, I remember when I was, especially in Lyon, there was a few performance spaces or concerts happening in boats.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it does must happen in other cities or other places, but of that scale. Can we start with how you started the project?
Yeah, of course.
Organisation, when the structure and everything.
Okay. So the genesis of the idea happened over lockdown, and it happened while I was here working on a salvage project. So there was a historic tugboat that had sunk in Canary Wharf, and I was here to bring her up and rescue the ship.
Mm-hmm. But sorry, do we always say her for a ship? Because that's obviously I spoke with my mum about it, and she said, but don't we say she and not it? And I thought, maybe I'll ask Inigo.
So either is okay. So I think in modern parlance people tend to say it now. I've been working on boats and ships for a while, and certainly when you're talking to a lot of the people who've been around them for a very long time, her is still a very common usage. And I still slip into it sometimes without thinking. But we, as a project, we tend to use it for ships.
Okay, so I'll carry on with it.
It is fine. If I say her, just forgive me. I have quite a deep and personal relationship with some of these ships,
which is understandable. So go on, carry on.
So I was here to repair and salvage this boat, and I was here over lockdown, and I was really taken by this area. It was my first time being in Canary Wharf, my first time being in the docks, and for me it was a real return to something. So my family way back lived and worked in the docks. My great granddad was a docker. He actually died in the dock we're in right now.
Oh, right, okay.
He while working he slipped and fell, and that was that. And there was something very interesting in being here, and obviously there's been all this really exciting new development in the area, but it's on top of this really rich history, and there's something really interesting, I think, in making some of that history legible again. So it was that sense of an opportunity, and I was working with some people here, and we developed the idea together, and we approached the Canal and River Trust to operate the docks here, and they were excited about it too. And that was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And then we spent about a year developing the organisation and developing the plan, and then we purchased our first ship, which is the ship we're on now. In July 2022.
Okay.
Then drove that across and started the project on this ship. The dream for the project was always to be on one of these historic cargo ships. That's what made sense with the ideology of the project. That's what made sense with the area. And actually, when we started, we tried to buy one of these ships. So one of these 1930s diesel coastal ships. And we got really far down the sale process. I mean, I flew out to this the port called Corsa in Denmark.
Okay.
And we surveyed the ship and we put in an offer. But just as we were about to purchase the ship, there was a spike in scrap steel prices after the war broke out in Ukraine.
Okay.
And the ship ended up getting sold to a scrapyard for £50,000 over its asking price.
How come? How come was it?
Well, because it was worth more as a pile of steel plate than it was as a floating ship. And we were kind of devastated by that. Because at that point there were 4 of them left in Europe.
Yeah.
That one went. Now there's 3 of them left in Europe, and so we thought, okay, well, there's no chance we'll ever be able to find one of these ships again. We'll get something different, and we'll start the project on this.
How do you find those ships? How are they advertised? I presume not on Gumtree or eBay.
So the boat world is a remarkably internet illiterate world. So everything happens with phone calls.
Okay.
There's
no websites.
There are, but they never have the websites are like the tip of the iceberg for the shipping world.
Yeah.
Particularly on these older ships. So there was a broker based in the Netherlands who knew we were looking for something.
Right.
And we spoke to him about the first ship, and he was actually the one who gave us a call when this other one came up.
Yeah.
So he was great. He really facilitated the whole process there.
Great. So 1 year later, after you missed the ship, what happened?
Well, it's kind of a tragic story actually. It was a death. So the ship was owned by an old German sea captain.
Okay.
And he was trying to turn it into a museum ship in the port of Flensburg. And at very short notice, he was diagnosed. Yeah, so this ship that we were never expecting to be on the market again. We knew about it. Again, there's so few of them that that I can name every one of these ships.
Yeah.
Then we were told that the ship was put on the market. We flew to Flensburg and spoke to his widow, and we put in an offer for the ship.
And you got it.
And we got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you acquired the ship.
Yeah.
And is it when you started to create, or you created the Theatreship CIC, the organisation?
We'd created the organisation before.
Before, okay.
Yeah. And
was it just you at the time, or there was
no. So so it's quite important to us, I think, to be quite a permeable organisation. So we want to be really open for people getting involved, and we've had a lot of involvement at very different levels. So we've had volunteers come over to do a couple of hours of painting work, but we've also had people come in and very quickly become members of the core team. And the core team now is about six people, but then there's a wider working network, and it's by design quite fluid. We want people to feel very welcome here and feel that any work they are able to give is appreciated and supported and goes towards making the project happen.
Yeah.